I want to say something that might ruffle some feathers. Most business coaches cannot help you. Not because they are bad people, not because they are scammers, not because the industry is entirely broken, but because most of what gets sold as business coaching is not actually what your business needs. And the reason you are still stuck, still overwhelmed, still grinding without the traction you expected might have nothing to do with how hard you are working or how motivated you are. It might be because you have been buying the wrong thing. Today we are getting into that. Why the coaching model fails most operators, what the gap actually is, and what changes when you stop chasing motivation and start building infrastructure. Let's get into it. Before we do, real quick, if you are building a business, running a team, or tired of feeling like you are working harder than the results show, hit subscribe. This show is not hype. It is not a motivational pep talk. It is operator thinking, how real businesses actually work when the cameras are off. Welcome to Notebook of a COO. I want to be careful here because I am not making a blanket statement that all coaching is worthless. There is a version of coaching that is genuinely powerful. Executive coaching, leadership development, performance psychology. There are coaches out there doing real important work. But there is also a version of coaching that has flooded the market for the last decade, and it looks like this. Someone with a story, a highlight reel, a course, and a framework built entirely around belief, mindset, and energy. And the promise is, fix how you think and the business will follow. Here is the problem with that. You cannot think your way out of a broken fulfillment process. You cannot manifest a documented SOP. You cannot affirmation your way into a functional cash flow system. At some point, the business needs structure. And structure is not a coaching conversation. It is an operations problem. That is what we are unpacking today. Here is what I see over and over again with operators at every stage. They hit a wall. Revenue stalls, or the chaos gets too loud, or they feel like they are the only person holding the whole thing together. And they do what seems reasonable. They invest in help. So they hire a coach. They go through the program. They do the calls. They get motivated. They leave with a new perspective, maybe a new goal, maybe a new narrative about who they are and what they are capable of. And then Monday comes, and the inbox is still a disaster. The team is still confused. The leads are still inconsistent. The bottlenecks are still there. Because nothing inside the business actually changed. Drop a comment if you have been there. If you have invested in coaching or a program and walked away feeling inspired, but still stuck when the rubber met the road. Because I promise you, you are not alone in that experience. And here is what I want you to understand. That is not always a failure of the coach. In a lot of cases, it is a failure of category. The business did not have a belief problem. It had a systems problem. And the solution that was purchased was not designed to fix systems. It was designed to fix belief. Those are two completely different problems, and they require two completely different solutions. That is the tension. And that is exactly what we are solving today. Let me give you 3 things I want you to walk away understanding clearly. Number 1, the difference between a mindset problem and an operations problem. This is the foundational distinction, and most people have never been given a clean way to tell these apart. A mindset problem looks like this. You know what to do, you have the plan, you have the tools, but you are not doing it. You are procrastinating. You are self-sabotaging. You are letting fear make your decisions. That is a mindset problem. And coaching, therapy, or accountability structures can genuinely help with that. An operations problem looks like this. You are showing up. You are doing the work, but the business still is not producing what it should. Clients are falling through the cracks. Your team is not executing consistently. Revenue is unpredictable. You cannot step away without something breaking. That is not a belief problem. That is a systems problem. Here is the test. Ask yourself this one question honestly. If I were fully motivated and completely disciplined every single day, would the business run well? If the answer is yes, you might have a mindset problem. Coaching could help. If the answer is no, if the business would still be broken, even with the perfect version of you showing up every single day, then you have an operations problem, and no amount of mindset coaching is going to close that gap. Number 2, what coaches sell versus what operators actually need. Let me be specific about what the coaching industry is primarily built to deliver. It delivers inspiration, accountability to goals, community, frameworks for thinking, stories, and case studies. And in a lot of cases, it delivers a feeling of progress that is not always backed by structural change. That stuff has value. I am not dismissing it, but it is not operational. What operators actually need is different. They need documented processes for the things that repeat in their business every week. They need clarity on who owns what and what good performance actually looks like. They need financial visibility so they can make decisions based on data, not bank balance. They need systems for lead generation that do not depend entirely on their personal hustle. They need a team structure that can execute without requiring their approval on everything. None of that is a coaching conversation. All of that is infrastructure. And the operators who scale cleanly are not necessarily the most motivated people in the room. They're the ones who took the time to build the machine underneath the work. That is the gap, and it is a big one. Drop a comment if this is resonating. Because I think a lot of operators have spent significant money chasing a solution that was never built to solve the actual problem. Number 3, the COO frame versus the coach frame. Here is how I want you to think about this differently going forward. A coach stands outside your business and helps you think about it differently. An operator stands inside the business and changes how it runs. Those are two fundamentally different postures. One is perspective. One is infrastructure. The COO frame, the operator frame, is not about how you feel about your business. It is about how your business actually functions on a Tuesday when you are tired, your best client is unhappy, and your top employee calls out sick. Does it hold? Does the process still run? Do your systems answer the questions your team is asking, or does everything come back to you? That is the real test of a business. Not how inspired you felt at the last retreat, not how clear your vision board is, whether or not the operation holds up under pressure. And here's what I have found after 15 plus years of building and operating businesses at the C-suite level. The operators who have the most freedom, the most leverage, and honestly the most enjoyment in their work are not the most coached people. They are the most systematized people. They built clarity into their team. They built process into their delivery. They built visibility into their numbers. And because of that, the business does not require them to be at 100% every single day just to survive. That is what the operator frame gives you. And that is what most of the coaching industry is not selling. Here's your action step, and I want you to actually do this before the week is out. Sit down and honestly answer these 3 questions about your business right now. Question 1. What is the single biggest reason revenue is inconsistent or growth has stalled? If your answer involves anything about your mindset or habits, dig one layer deeper. Is there a process underneath that is actually broken? Question 2. If you stepped away for 2 weeks, what falls apart? Write those things down. That is your operations gap. That is the list of things that are dependent on you personally instead of on documented, repeatable systems. Question 3. Where have you been buying inspiration when what you actually needed was infrastructure? Be honest with that last one. Because it is an uncomfortable question and it costs real money to answer it wrong for too long. The operators who make the leap from grinding to scaling are not the ones who finally found the right coach to believe in them. They are the ones who stopped outsourcing their operational gaps to mindset conversations and started building the systems that the business actually requires. That is the shift. And if you want a real framework for doing it, that is exactly what we built the Operator Hub and the Operator Academy around. Not motivation, not inspiration. Operational frameworks, systems, and a structured path to building a business that actually runs. The link is in the description. If this episode said something you needed to hear, I want you to do one thing. Share it with another operator in your world. Someone who is grinding, who is probably invested in coaching, and who is still wondering why the results are not matching the effort. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can do for someone is hand them the right lens. And subscribe if you have not yet, because we are not done building here. there is always another layer to get to. Wherever you are, that is exactly where you are supposed to be. But that does not mean you have to stay there. Until next time.